so vast. I wandered far and wide, searching for the answer, but always felt denied, seeking validation from others' lofty dreams. But deep inside I knew the answers lie within me. Oh, I am the foundation, I am the spark, my creator's masterpiece, a light that pierces the dark. Got the strength to build, to shape my destiny. I am the building material. I am finally free. Oh, oh, oh. Travel through the darkness, face my deepest fears, but now it's time to rise. Wipe away the tears. I am the building blocks, the catalyst of change, unleashing all my power. Nothing's out of range. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am the building blocks, the catalyst of change, unleashing all my power. Nothing's out of range. Yeah, 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 yeah. I am the building blocks, the catalyst of change, unleashing all my power. Nothing's out of range. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the dawn. I've got the strength to build, to shape my destiny. I am the build material. I am the foundation. I am the spark, my creator's masterpiece. Oh, 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 oh. I am the building blocks, the catalyst of change, unleashing all my power. Nothing's out of range. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is the dawn. I've got the strength to build, to shape my destiny. I am the build material. I am the foundation. I am the spark, my creator's masterpiece. A light that pierces the dark. I've got the strength to build, to shape my destiny. I am the build material. I am. This was so vast, I wandered far and wide, searching for the answers, but always felt denied, seeking validation from others' lofty dreams. But deep inside I knew the answers lie within me. Oh, 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 oh. I am the building blocks, the catalyst of change, unleashing all my power. Nothing's out of range.
All right, welcome family. Welcome to another video, another broadcast. So glad that you guys can join us here. And let me see. I'm looking kind of gray here. Hold on. Let me see if I can change that a little bit. Let's see. All right, I'll put a little more life into my skin, just a little bit. I'm not ashy. Okay, just to let you know, I'm not ashy. I may need to figure out this beard situation here. I'm looking like Grady. Yeah, I got to figure that out. But anyway, so glad to have you guys here today. And yes, that album, again, it's still available. And we're also going to be working on, we are actively working on our next one. Someone said they're listening all the way from the UK. What's up? What is up? So glad that you can join us. And we hope you find yourself a good seat. And really appreciate you being here. But anyway, Yeah, so that album is available. You go to Samba Tree, SAMBA tree.com. The album has 12 songs on it, $4.99. The album in of itself, I actually have a video. We did a broadcast when we released it, explaining each and every song. The whole purpose of the album and the other ones to follow is we're really big on getting our people to protect our peace, to protect peace, right? To protect your peace, to create an environment of peace just around you. You know what I'm saying? And so we wanted to provide music that would reflect that and will help you to do that. So yeah, so you go to Samba Tree, SAMBA tree.com, and you can go ahead and you can grab your copy over there. Okay. Speaking of Samba Tree, just quick announcement about that, and I want to make sure everyone hears it. Okay. Okay. So when we get emails, we've been going through our emails. They have been going through their emails. We've been getting quite a few of them because, you get new customers and stuff like that. And that's always a wonderful thing. So we're getting those emails out as quickly as we can. And if your email has not been responded to, look for one between tonight and tomorrow. Okay. Now that's one category. Okay. Now, the other category is this, and we cannot stress or emphasize this enough, and that is we don't know what happened or what's happening. The email gods are always changing stuff, when it comes to the standard when you're sending out emails as a business. If they feel like, oh, you're being spammy, it will set off certain flags depending on who your carrier is, and it will automatically push it into spam. Okay. So we want to make sure that you check before you reach out to us. Make sure you check your spam folder first. Okay. Check your spam folder. Check it good. Check it. Okay. Because more often than not, in many cases, you will find that we've already responded to you. In many cases, not all. But that's another category. So make sure you check that. Okay. So to recap, for those that are coming in, we're getting through emails and we are responding to people. All right. And this is something we just have to do periodically. Right. And so as so if you're like, I just want to make sure you got my email. I just want to make sure that, nobody took my card and ran. No, we got your email. We got your order. And yes, you are being responded to, and we are sending out tracking numbers for people and all of that. There were some products that we had to wait just for just a tinge to get it in stock so that we can send it out. Okay. And we're updating people on those that fall into those categories. Okay. But yeah, rest assured, everything is fine. And but make sure you check your spam folder. Sorry. And then the other thing is, if you check your email or check your spam folder and you see you have a tracking number, make sure you follow that tracking number. That's your priority now, because once we hand it off to the courier, be it USPS or UPS, whoever one we go to at that time, they are at that point responsible for getting the package to you. Okay. So if you have a tracking number and you're like, okay, I got a tracking number. Okay, what do I do now? Well, you go to the courier's page and find out where that package is. Okay. If something is sent out like Friday evening or something like that, you're not going to see too much movement during the weekend, because that's just how it goes. You'll begin to start seeing movement, starting that following Monday. So if you're one of those that got a tracking number, let's say Friday night, and you're like, okay, what's going on? It's there. We don't have it. They have it, and it will be moving. Start looking around like Monday or so. Okay. Only time we get involved once we hand it off is that if it gets lost, that's when we get involved. Okay. But other than that, once we hand it to them, it's in their hands. Okay. So just wanting to make sure y'all are very clear with all of that. And, just wanted to bring people up to speed on that. Okay. Really appreciate y'all again for checking out our wonderful, wonderful page that has helped so many people. And again, that's sambatree.com, and, all kind of herbal, natural things that we're offering on there. And Like always, we're going to be adding some more stuff on there. We're going to be adding some more. Check out, you can also subscribe to our YouTube page for Samba Tree. I just uploaded a video, I think it was yesterday, of our dear sister Violet. Man, she is cooking on TikTok. I don't know if you guys know that, but she's a star over there. She's a star over on TikTok. And so I grabbed one of her videos and reposted it on our Samba Tree. On our Samba Tree YouTube page. She was actually talking about how to make apple cider vinegar. Yeah, so you don't have to wait you don't have to wait and go to the store and get mad because they're adding this and that or whatever to apple cider vinegar. Now we have one of our own people showing you how you can make it yourself right in your own kitchen. And so I just shared that video there. And like I said, please show her some support by subscribing to her. If you're on TikTok, look for her there. And of course, she's been here on YouTube. And as you know, TikTok is going to be, for what we know right now, is pretty much they're going to be getting rid of that soon. So people are going to have to find a new platform, to get on that one. And but yeah, that's happening. And we just uploaded, tomorrow you'll get that. Well, it's available now. We talked about that on the latest, what is it? Digital Plantation Radio podcast. I'll have the link posted tomorrow. But if you're subscribed to that podcast, then you've already got the notification and you can hear it now. We talked about this whole bill that just got signed Friday, I think it was Thursday or Friday, where they're, again, signed off $95 billion to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. They got in on the act. And there's some other things in there as well, too, including this whole thing with TikTok. And so now the next step is going to go to the president's desk for him to finalize it or whatever. And so I think what they're saying is by fall of this year, TikTok will be no more. So, that's just what it is. There's a whole lot, and I talk more about that as to the whys behind that and all of that. In that podcast, I think I touched on it, and then some other things too we talked about. So check that one out too, that podcast. And then we have the other two podcasts, which is Tech Tribes, which talks about the history of ancient African history. Each podcast is about 3 to 5 minutes. So, man, come on. That don't even take that long to listen. If you got a short attention span, if you like, it's got to be shorter, I can't help you. But we're looking at not necessarily just ancient African history. We're looking at ancient African tech history, and also the different medicines and herbs and stuff that our people came up with throughout the many, many years. We have, we're talking about that on that podcast as well. And of course, you have the Who and the L series, which is an ongoing series that we've had going on for some time. But I'm just kind of replaying the installments that we did some time ago, and I'm putting them in 1/2 an hour clips. So make sure you subscribe to those podcasts there. And so, you can stay plugged in and get that info and all of that. So everything's there. So, all right. So I hope you guys are having a good day. Today's weather report here, in case you were wondering, the weather report out here in beautiful Arizona is 96 degrees. We are touching on that 100. We getting ready to hit 100, y'all, out here. And so but we're still at the place where it's nice early in the morning, and then in the evening hours it's nice, but during that middle, you need to stay inside, and but once we get into the high part of summer, even in the evening hours, it's kind of hot too. So, but it's still nice. I'm enjoying it. So anyway, that's it. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So today we are going to talk about the different gods, some of them, just some of them. This ain't all of them. We're going to touch on, we're going to look at some references in the Bible, what we call the Bible, that are actually referring to different, or were inspired by ancient texts. In other words, the inspiration behind these passages, it came from something beyond the Bible, and it predated the Bible. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Just going to give just a few. These are just a few examples, but there's many, many more out here. And it should, at the end of the day, put a question mark in your mind as to, you got a lot of people out here that will spend hours breaking down different scriptures and doing all this stuff, right? But why is it that they skip over this stuff? This is just as easy to find as anything else. It's kind of strange, but anyway, but it's not too strange because, again, when you are fully invested into the matrix system, that means you're fully invested in it, meaning that you don't want to go down any path that's going to cause you to wake up. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me stop here for a second, then we're going to drive in, okay? Now, for one, these are some of this stuff that we're going to go over today. Some of this stuff is stuff I used to hear when I was in Christendom or when I was in the Hebrew world. I would hear these things and I would just automatically stop my ears and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And I look back now and I said, it was because I didn't want to wake up. My mindset was, man, I invested all this time in this. I don't need to be questioning anything else. Come on, you telling me now there's a whole nother level I got to go through with stuff? Man, I ain't trying to do that. I was that guy. Yeah, I was that guy. There was stuff that I myself, even though for years, I've always had this thing where I would try to look into the meaning of stuff and all of that. But I would come to immediate hard stop when it would come to certain things, because it's things that got too close. You understand what I'm saying? And so I pulled back and I was like, nah, I'm not nobody's going to question my Jesus. Nobody's going to question the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Nobody's going to question these scriptures because, these scriptures are things that help me get through. Okay, and we're not questioning that because I'm sure there are many things within the Bible that did help you get through certain things, just like that. We're not trashing that. You understand what I'm saying? And this is where people tune out because they think what we're saying here is that you got to trash all of that and all of that was just an illusion. No. If it got you through, we got you through. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's just what it is. But what we're doing now is going a little bit further. And now we're understanding the history with this stuff. And we're like, oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm grateful for that. I really appreciate that. But now it's time for me to graduate and move further into the truth. You understand? But what the problem is that for many people, they don't want to do that because of fear. It makes them uncomfortable, and then you're trying to figure like someone like me out thinking, okay, well, where's he leading us to? I'm not leading you nowhere. I'm just presenting the facts, the historical facts as is. And where you go is up to you. You should never be looking up to everybody or that you find on YouTube or whatever to tell you what to do next or what decisions to make. You should never do that. You're too grown for that. That's what the church does. The church does that. In any system that resembles the church, and that's why I say even the Hebrew world, it's just an extension of the church. And they may scream up and down and say, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Very much so. And so so you always got to have somebody to tell you how to think, what to believe, what not to believe. Oh, don't you listen to that guy over there, that kind of thing, because it's jealousy and all that. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. So all we're doing here is saying, no, enough of that. Here's things that we was able to verify this just by looking at the historical records here. And, you looking at, I'm asking you, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Now, as far as our household is concerned, we moving on. You know what I mean? What's your household doing? What you doing? You understand what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. And I'll say this, and then we're going to jump in. I had someone in our comments the other day said, brother, the reason why I'm saying this is because the reason why I'm questioning like this is because, I'm just a little concerned because it's like you're putting out all this confusion out here, and I'm concerned about the babes out there, the young people, the people that are just coming in and then they hearing all this and they getting confused. I said, no, you getting confused. The babes are going to be just fine. The babes got keyboards, right? They got keyboards. They got a mouth and they got a brain. Okay. And what we're doing is trying to get you to engage this. Do you understand what I'm saying? More of this and less of this. Do you understand what I'm saying? More of this and this, listening, and less of getting on and just on the flip, just wanting to argue and stuff on whatever social media platform about your interpretation of a particular scripture. No, you need to take the time in silence and then begin to look at. I was just looking at something. I was just flipping through some stuff on social media, and I'm listening to this individual, and literally saw them. It's crazy how they excerpted this one passage of scripture that we were just talking about the other day, and just literally excerpted one part and left out the other part of the scripture. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But everybody else listened to him. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Amen. That's right. And I was like, wow. It's like whatever this person says, you just follow. And it should never be like that. Okay. So that's what we are. So no, it's so, and I had to go a little bit further with this person too. And I said, listen, no, it's not the babes are confused. You confused. And it's okay to acknowledge that. So you don't have to come this back door way to try to, no. If you confused, then that's, you start with there. Do you understand what I'm saying? None of these other people, if they're confused, they know how to ask a question. You know what I mean? And we've always made ourselves available for that. Always. So just to be clear with that. So, you don't have to come under this guise of, I'm only asking because I'm concerned about these other people. I know you asking because you got some questions, and then speak for yourself. Don't speak for the ghost people out there. Okay. It's simple. It's very simple, y'all. It really is. All right. Okay, here we go. So let's get into some of these examples here. Okay. And this is not all of them. I just really want to emphasize this. This is not all of them. All right. This is just going to be some of the references that you're going to find mentioned in scripture. I'm actually skipping over Genesis because the Genesis story, there's an earlier version of that. Because that one, I can actually do a video just on that. One of the inspirations of the creation story, one of them, not the one, but one of them refers to a god, or rather it was a god who created a male and a female and placed them in a garden. I mean, come on, this is an Egyptian story, right? And placed them in a garden, right? And that's where they were being fruitful and multiplied. But it's man, there's a lot of stories like that. But again, everything I'm sharing are stories that predated. Okay. And I'm getting to this, y'all, but I'm getting to what we're talking about here, because I got to cover all these bases here, because I'll have one person come in and say something, anyway. As we are diving into this thing, another thing too that comes up a lot are individuals that will say, well, the way I believe, what I think is, see, since Satan was in heaven, you ever thought about that? What's Satan doing up in heaven? Anyway, I thought God was lighting in him. There's no dark. Anyway, so since Satan was in heaven, what I believe is that he overheard what God was saying, what his plan was for mankind. And so he snuck down the back stairs, came down to earth. And that's how you get all this predated stuff that happened. I was like, wow, you thought that up all yourself. And that's not the first. I've heard this mentioned many times. Okay. Please don't go down that road. Please don't. Okay. Not here. Unless you got some proof. Maybe you had a talk with Satan on that one. Please don't go down that road. Okay. Not here. Not here. Okay. Not here. Okay, let's go here. All right, so let me go ahead and pull this up here. I hope I'm saying this name right. The first person we're going to look at is this its name of this source is The Instruction of Amenemope. Let's see. Amenemope. Amenemope. Hope I'm saying that right. Okay, let me get it up on here now so you know what I'm talking about. You see what my struggle is. Okay, hold on. It's right here. The Instruction of Amenemope. I hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, and then what we're going to do is in a comparison between this and the book of Proverbs. Okay, well, let's find out who this individual was. Okay, Amenemope, I hope I'm saying that right, was referred to as, and then they say it again, was an ancient Egyptian sage and the author credited with composing the Instruction of Amenemope. Okay, a work of wisdom literature. This text is partially significant because of its influence on later works, including some of the biblical Proverbs. So right now we're looking at the book of Proverbs here. That's where we're going to be going through. Oh, Team Truth said he going through the book of he going through the Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, how about that one? Anyway, Amenemope was let's see, probably lived during the New Kingdom period of Egypt, specifically in the late 19th dynasty or early 20th dynasty, around the 12th century BCE. Let me stop there real quick here. The what's referred to as the New Kingdom period of Egypt, that also included what we call today Israel. All right, what we call today the state of Israel. The state of Israel was part of Egypt. All right. And what's so crazy about this is that this was around the same time that supposedly Moses, or rather that the Moses and the gang, they and the children of Israel, they had left Egypt to come, and they were making their way to the quote unquote promised land. However, the promised land was actually part of Egypt. So they left Egypt to go to Egypt. That doesn't even make any sense. But we're just laying out the history. When you hold the biblical storyline to actual history, that's what it was. That's why it doesn't make sense. The exact details of his life are scant, but he is generally believed to have been a scribe or a teacher, which aligns with the educational and moralistic nature of his writings. The Instruction of Amenemope, I hope I'm saying that right, because someone going to be like, no, that's not how you say it, but that's all right, is a collection of 30 chapters of maxims aimed at providing guidance for a successful and morally upright life. It addresses social conduct, personal behavior, and justice, emphasizing humility, self-control, and the avoidance of strife. All that sounds good to me. The work is written as advice from a father to his son. Let me read that again. The work was written as advice from a father to his son. Isn't that something we see in the book of Proverbs? My son, forget not my law. My son. That comes up a lot in Proverbs, doesn't it? Interesting. A common format for wisdom literature in the ancient Near East. Influence and legacy. The most notable aspect of Amenemope work is its possible influence on biblical literature, particularly the book of Proverbs. Scholars have pointed out the similarities between sections of the instruction of his instructions and the biblical Proverbs, suggesting that the former may have influenced the latter. For example, some passages in Proverbs 22:17, bear striking resemblance in structure and context to the part of his instructions there. Okay, so let me just skip here to this next page here, and we're going to look at actual examples. All right, let's look at the examples here. All right, so on the left-hand side, you can see from the wisdom of Amenemope. All right, and this is on the left. So I'm on the left. You can follow along with me. It says, incline thine ears to hear my sayings, and apply thine heart to their comprehension. For it is a profitable thing to put them in thine heart. Now that's in Amenemope 1, chapter 1, verse 6. Now let's jump to Proverbs 22, 17 and 18. Bow down thine ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them within thee. That's really interesting. They sound almost identical, don't they? All right, let's continue. This is same source. Everything on the left is from the wisdom of Amenemope. Remove not the landmark on the boundary of the fields, and trespass not on the boundary of the widow. That's in chapter 7, verses 12 through 15. Now let's jump to the right. Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. Just taking my time here. Like I said again, we can be slow bus here. We can ride on the slow bus today. We're gonna take our time because I want to make sure you are getting this and you are listening and you are seeing with your own eyes. Okay, and everything here, like I always say, I strongly encourage you to look up and verify for yourself. Do not take my word for any of this. All right. Amenemope chapter 10, verse 5. They have made themselves wings like geese, and they have flown to heaven. All right, let's go to Proverbs chapter 23, verse 4 to 5. Riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle towards heaven. All right, back to the left. Amenemope chapter 9, verse 5 through 8. Better is poverty in the hand of God than the riches in the storehouse. Better are loaves when the heart is joyous. All right, let's jump to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 16 through 17. I think my big head is blocking some of it. Let me move me around here. Okay, I'll just move it up there. All right. All right, so let me read it again because I want to make sure people hear. Now I'm gonna go back to the left. Amenemope chapter 9, verse 5 through 8. Better is poverty in the hand of God than the riches in the storehouse. Better are loaves when the heart is joyous. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 15, verse 16 to 17. Better is little with fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble therewith. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is. This is like someone was looking over somebody's shoulder. Now remember, what's on the left, it came before what we know today is Proverbs. That Proverbs came later, much later, much later. All right, let's go back. The last example here, wisdom of Amenemope. Fraternize not with the hot-tempered man, and press not on him for conversation. That's in Amenemope chapter 11, verse 13 to 14. Proverbs, it says, make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go. All right. So that's your examples right there. We're just getting started here. All right. So again, what we did was you saw a clear side-by-side comparison between these two texts. With the Bible coming much later. All right. The book of Proverbs much later. Another thing to consider is the fact that while there is historical record, there's actual historical record of Amenemope actually existing. There is absolutely no historical record of Solomon actually existing. There's none of it. I challenge you to look that up. Look up see if there's any archaeological or anything that's written in stone or anything like that, I am challenging you to look it up. Look it up. And I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't going to find nothing. And they will admit that, no, there's things that we kind of sort of think maybe possibly it's tied to him, but we really don't have any solid evidence to say that he even existed. But look it up. Don't get mad at me. Look it up for yourself. All right. And that's what you'll see with a lot of these people. A lot of these individuals, characters that you will see mentioned in the Bible, once you look up now Hezekiah, King Hezekiah, we did find there is some evidence of him, with his royal seal and all of that. We found that we can find that. So any conspiracy that you're trying to pivot towards and think that, well, see, what they did was, see, they don't want to know, they don't want us to know that this thing is real. So what they did was they rummaged through all the historical stuff and they hid it. And it's all under the Vatican. It's like we just be pulling for all kinds of stuff. Okay, do you have evidence and proof of that? Well, no, but that's what these people do. But do you have evidence of that? No. Okay, then fine. And we got to keep moving. There's some things that are mentioned in the Bible where there is some archaeological findings that do tie with what's stated. All right. But not everything. A lot of things aren't the case. Like people love to point to this lonely little wheel that was found in the Red Sea. And they'll say, see, this is evidence that the crossing of the Red Sea, it happened because it's this single wheel that we were able to find in the bottom of the Red Sea. This is the evidence. This is the proof. But couldn't they have perhaps someone that fallen off a ship or something like that? They did transport, vehicles, chariots and stuff by ship in those days too. They did do that. And a chariot being a wheel being found in the middle of the ocean, or in the middle of the Red Sea, it's plausible, but is it actual solid proof? No, absolutely not. The other thing is, are we sure that picture was taken at the Red Sea? That picture could have come from anywhere. That could have been in the bottom of a lake. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? So these are questions that you have to allow yourself to ask, and it's okay to do it, All right, so let's move on to the next thing here. Now, have you ever heard of the Babylonian Job? Have you ever heard of that one? Yeah, there is an individual that's referred to as the Babylonian Job. Let's pull that one up here and let's take a look. All right. And I give the source right down there, but you can look it up. It's in other sources too, but I liked how they laid it out, so that's why I used it. But the link is there. You can see it for yourself. The Babylonian Job. The most famous parallel to the book of Job is entitled, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, y'all. It's right here. You see that? Ludlul Bel Nem Mickey. All right. That's the only time you're going to see me pronounce that. OK. But I will pronounce the first name, Ludlul. I think I got that one. All right. And what that translates to is, and again, this is Babylonian. I will praise the Lord of wisdom, and is known as the poem of the righteous sufferer. Or the Babylonian Job. Again, everything we're covering predates what we call today the Bible. All right, let's go. This work is a Mesopotamian poem written in Akkadian that concerns itself with the affections of Shubshi, Shakan, a man of high rank. He is suddenly and unexpectedly, check this out. Listen to this. Who was this guy who was known as The righteous sufferer. He was known as a man of high rank. He is suddenly and unexpectedly reduced to dreadful suffering and laments his malady in gruesome detail. Since he knows of no sin in his life, he searches for some remedy to his plight through the arts of divination, but to no avail. Unlike Job, he does not rebuke or condemn his God. For a year, his disease stubbornly resists every effort of the diviners to bring about healing. Meanwhile, the sufferer pursues his lament, believing that the gods will show him favor someday. At last, he has 3 dreams in which Marduk, the chief god, sends messengers to perform rites of exorcism to bring about his healing. In gratefulness, he concludes with a long hymn of praise to Marduk. All right, and then and this is the stone that this entire story is etched on. They got it laying down, but if you see there's other pictures where it's actually standing up, it's pretty sizable. Anyway, Babylonian Job recreation. Let's see, and they tell you where it's found and all this stuff, right? Let's see. Okay, all right. So yeah, you pretty much got the summary there. All right, and so this is a verse out of this story that's etched on this stone. You're not going to find a stone of Job's story, are you? The biblical Job. Are you going to find a stone with his story on it? No. All right, let's read it. This passage here. I survived the following year. The appointed time passed. As I turned around, it was more and more terrible. My ill luck was on the increase. I found no good fortune. I called to my God, but he did not show his face. My goodness. No, not my goodness. Sorry. What am I doing? My goddess. Sorry. There you go. My goddess. But she did not raise her head. The diviner, with his inspection, did not get to the bottom of it, nor did the dream priest with his incense clear my case. And again, that comes from this story. I will praise the Lord of wisdom. Okay. So again, these all predate what we know today as the scriptures. All right. Let's see. Got another one here. Like I said, I'm just going to be hitting them going right to the point. All right. And my encouragement to you is to please, I'm begging folks, please go and look these things up on your own. Team Truth, you saw what he said he's reading. You can look it up. It'll take you about a couple of minutes. You can look it up for yourself. All right. All right. Let's go back to the scriptures now. How about we do that? Let's go more into the scriptures here. I got some passages I want to read to you. These passages, the reason why I separated them out, because they all share a similarity. All right. Now, there's no full context. You know how I typically do. If I'm going to quote a scripture, I try to cover a lot more, you know what I mean? Like a little bit before and after so we can get the full context. But because we're talking Psalms here, and there's certain parts of Psalms, unlike Psalms 82, where, people like to quote that ye are gods and they stop there. That's a little different because you got to read the whole thing, because people read that ye are gods and say and assume it's talking to everybody. No, it's not. It's God or, Yahweh actually sitting down with a real council of other gods. It says it right there in the scripture. It's not talking about you and me. You understand? But Psalms, a lot of times it's just the writer is just riffing. He's just going in one verse he'll say one verse and then the next verse, it can be something else. And, that kind of thing. So that's why we're doing it here. Okay. But I pulled these out because they all have a similarity. All right. All right, so Psalm 68:4, let's read that one. It says, sing to God, sing in praise of his name. Extol him for him who rides on the clouds. Let me read that again. Extol him who rides on the clouds. I want you to remember that, okay? Rejoice before him. His name is the Lord, or Yahweh. All right, the second one, Psalms chapter 104, verse 3. He makes the clouds his chariot and rides on the wings of the wind. All right, let's go to the next one. Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. See, the Lord rides on a swift cloud and is coming to Egypt. The idols of Egypt tremble before him, and the hearts of the Egyptians melt with fear. All right, here's another one here. This is Nahum chapter 1, verse 3. The Lord is slow to anger, but is great in power. The Lord, or Yahweh, will not leave the guilty unpunished. His way is in the whirlwind and the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. This is very interesting because where this comes from. All right. So for that, is that cat in? Oh, I thought that cat was at my feet. All right. So let me share this with you. All right. So again, this is something I always bring up. This is a little different, ways spread out, but it's the same information. Any of the gods that are mentioned, El, Yahweh, Hebrews got that comes from the Canaanite pantheon. Okay, that's where it comes from. This is where it comes from. So if you say El, Elyon, El or Elyon, that means the Most High. That's what it means. All right. So just going over this again so people can see it. And you just, it's just what it is. You can't get around this. Okay. So El right here, you see where I'm circling? That's the high God. So anytime in scripture, the whole, El, when you hear El, it's referring to this. And El in the Canaanite pantheon has a wife, and his wife's name is Asherah. Okay. And this is all their children. All right. And not, and all that goes down. But as you go down here, you'll see Baal, which is right here. And right next to Baal, gee, who's that? Well, that's Yahweh. Yes. So every time in the scriptures, when it's saying Lord, it's actually referring to Yahweh. You can go to Strong's or whatever, and you can check and verify for yourself. So this is where it all comes from. And I'm going to play a video in a moment once I get through this this other 2 more pages here. I'm going to play a video that's going to hopefully explain this even more. Okay, that makes it, it's a short video. But, so when people are repeating these names and they're reading the Bible, what they don't realize is that this is where it's coming from. Okay, this is where exactly it's coming from. These names were not unique names to the Hebrews. No, they got this from the Canaanites, and then the Canaanites got them from other people within the Mesopotamian area. All right, that's where it all comes from. So any variation of Yahweh, Yah, Yahuwah, Yahshua, Yahawashai, it does not matter. It's all tied to Yahweh, who's the brother of Baal or Baal. Okay. And then they got all kind of other family members too. Horon, Milcom, Yam, Kothar. This is all part of it. All part of the family. Okay. So now let me pull up something here that's going to add a little bit more to give us some more info on who they're talking about here. Hold on, let me see. I thought I posted this. Let me see. I'll just read this to you, okay? I'll just read it. We'll see. All right, so the Ugaritic, I'll just post it here so you can see it when I'm reading. There you go. All right, the Ugaritic, Canaanite, and Mesopotamian texts are written in ancient languages and often exist only in fragmentary forms. So direct quotations require translations from those original texts, and it goes on, right? And it says the Ugaritic text, the Baal cycle, or I'm saying Baal, or they'll say Baal, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The Baal cycle is a series of epic poems from Ugaritic describing the god Baal or Baal, also called Hadad, a storm and fertility god. The texts are primarily in Ugaritic, a Semitic language closely related to Hebrew. In the Baal cycle, in the Baal cycle, Baal is described as defeating Yam, the sea god, and claiming his throne on Mount Zaphon. He is often depicted as riding clouds, which symbolizes his control over rain and storms, crucial for agriculture. An example line, though not verbatim due to the fragmentary nature and translation variations, would read, Baal gathers the clouds, rides on the wind. His voice thunders across the sky. That sounds like right out of Psalms, don't it? Okay, well, let's continue. And this is the Enuma Elish. This is another ancient Mesopotamian text. Again, all of this predates the Bible. I have to keep emphasizing that, okay? The Enuma Elish is a Babylonian creation myth that includes descriptions of the god Marduk, who later became the chief god in the Babylonian pantheon. Marduk is portrayed with attributes that emphasize his control over the elements, including the clouds and storms, as part of his dominion over all aspects of the cosmos. One line from the Enuma Elish regarding Marduk's powers might read, he constructed stations for the great gods, fixing their astral images as constellations. He determined the year by designating the zones. He set up 3 constellations for each of the 12 months. All right. And then here you go. Canaanite mythology, general references. Canaanite mythology, as gleaned from the various archaeological findings, include iconography and text, often highlights storm gods similar to Baal. These deities are typically depicted controlling weather and agricultural prosperity. And here's just a general summary. While direct, continuous texts like those found in Ugaritic and Mesopotamian sources are less common. Depictions and references in artifacts show gods like Baal commanding the elements. A generalized description based on scholarly synthesis might note Baal, Lord of Thunder, Rider of Clouds, commands the rain, granting fertility to the land. And then I'll just read it. And this is these texts are descriptions, reveal a common thematic element in ancient Near Eastern religions, the divine control over nature and weather, symbolized by a god riding on the clouds or commanding storms, showcasing their power and protective roles over their respective peoples and lands. Okay, so when you are reading those passages like the ones that I just showed you just a moment ago, what they are referring to is not who you think they're referring to. They're actually referring to Baal or Baal. So many of us, in our own ignorance, because we didn't know this stuff, I certainly didn't know. We were just, oh Lord, I just thank you. You are the one that rides the clouds. You know, you control the weather. You control the birds of the air and the fish of the sea. And you're repeating stuff that you heard or you may partially have obtained in the Bible. But as far as the Bible is concerned, it's directed towards, or it's actually addressing a different deity than what you think it is. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so to shut another thing down, You know, I had someone else the other day said, well, see, this is just I'm glad you're doing this because it's showing, you know, just how much these quote unquote Gentiles have come in and infiltrated the Bible. So in other words, you're still holding on to this narrative that the Bible was something that originated with you. It did not. It did not. It originated with these people. They gave it to you. You understand what I'm saying? And it was a testament to their dedication and their loyalty to their God. All right. To their gods, I should say, which in this particular case, in this piece that we're talking about, is Baal or Baal. That's their God, one of their gods. Let me ask you something. We're just taking a tiny, we're going to show us, I actually have another video that I want to show you. And then what I'll do is I'll go to that final video. We'll just close out, and you don't want to miss this video. You do not want to miss this video. It's only like maybe 10 minutes long. You don't want to miss this video, and because it's going to have even more info in there. Okay. But let me, I just remembered there was a video that I wanted to share with y'all. So just give me a moment here. I know I bookmarked it. Let me get it. And yes, it's right here. Hold on. I have it. I'm like literally looking at it right now. What I'm doing is copying the link. Go back. Okay. All right, let's pull it up here. Okay. Got it up here. This video that I'm going to show you, it's like less than 3 minutes long. Okay. Now, I want you to listen. Now, this is the Georgia Congressman, Richard Allen. Now, he's actually in conversation with, I believe this is the president of Columbia University. Okay. I want you to listen to him. Okay. And I'm just going to play it, and then we'll circle back, and then we'll chat about just for a little bit. Okay. Take a listen.
Are you familiar with Genesis 12:3? Well, it's pretty clear. It was the covenant that God made with Abraham. And that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you. And then in the New Testament, it was confirmed that all nations would be blessed through you. So you do not know about that. Do you consider that a serious issue? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible?
Definitely not.
Okay. Well, that's good. So here's the deal. In fact, I tell my colleagues that Washington, D.C. is not the center of the universe. Jerusalem is the center of the universe. We got freedom of speech in this country and freedom of religion. Yet we also have Moses looking down on the entire body of Congress who gave us the law, which most of our laws were made and are supposed to be enforced, came from the original law. Maybe you should have a course, and you don't have to believe it, but the Bible is an incredible book. There's a lot of history there, and you don't have to believe it, but you need to know what's in there. Maybe you should have a course suggested for those who are having problems with all of this on the Bible and what's in the Bible and kind of what will happen if, under the wrath of God. I mean, we have above the American flag in our chamber, "In God We Trust." I mean, what God is that? Do you understand why we're here? This is a serious issue. What do you know about this issue, and how do you feel about it? I mean, what are your feelings on what young people are being indoctrinated by these professors to believe this stuff, and they have no idea that they're going to be cursed by God. the God of the Bible and the God over our flag. What are your thoughts?
We have to be able to have rules that make sense. We have to be able to enforce them because people learn from consequences. We have to have order. And then we need deep anti-Semitism training, as we heard the Congresswoman talk. This is essential. We must train people on what this is. And finally,
I'm just about
I
out
think
of time, but you need to know
education.
that also, education is important, knowledge is important, but the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. I yield back.
Okay, so you heard all of that. You heard that whole exchange here. Let me ask you something, okay? Again, we're about here using our brains. That's what we're doing here, okay? Let me ask you something. Now, this system here that we are part of, I think there's pretty much an understanding that it is a pretty wicked system. I mean, for the most part, right? I mean, it's pretty wicked. I mean, case in point, they just they're sending billions of dollars to a country that is known to be very anti-black. In fact, they got Nazis over there. And I'm talking about the Ukraine. And they're sending billions and billions and billions of dollars to this country. Okay, that's just one little more recent example here that I'm giving you. That's just one recent example of just the wickedness of this country that we're in. Now, given that fact, and then here you have this congressperson that is actually lecturing someone, talking about hey, listen, the fear of God and the Bible and all of this stuff, and and how they stand on the Bible and all of this stuff. When you consider the actions of the government that he is representing, and then you listen to what he is saying, it's a very simple question, y'all. Do you really believe that this person and the government that he represents totally reflect the one that you claim that you follow and serve? Because everything he said to any Bible believing individual, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're Hebrew, Christian, it doesn't matter. Any Bible believing person wouldn't have anything bad to say about what he said. He was quoting the scripture, was he not? But you got to look at, then you have to start looking at the actions. That's where I'm trying to get our people to at least see that. Doesn't your Bible say you shall know them by their fruits, right? That's a very good statement. I love that statement. Why the heck would I throw something out like that? But doesn't the Bible say that you'll know them by their fruits? Okay, that's a good one. That's good. So why is it that then, and I got to be very, very, very direct here, because that's the only way that you hit the target 100% on who you're trying to go to. Again, we came out of the Christian world. We came out of the Hebrew world. I'm not looking at the camera because I'm looking for something right now. But why is it, let me ask y'all something. Why is it that for many of you, you still follow people in the Hebrew space that do not reflect the principles and the characteristics that are outlined in what you call the Bible? Your Bible does say that you'll know them by their fruits. And the problem that I've seen is that many of our people will see the fruits and you still ignore them. You make excuses. Well, I know these fruits are rotten, but hey, listen, where else am I going to eat? Where else am I going to get some food? We're not all perfect. The Bible also says we've all sinned. So I can't hope. See, that again, that kind of talk, that kind of rationale is this. I'm trying to get you to understand that is the rationale of a slave. Because when you go back into the days of slavery, we were grateful to get, I'm talking about slavery. We were grateful for the crumbs. Do you understand what I'm saying? These people that enslaved us, their fruit was number one, whipping our behinds. That was number one, right? But their fruit was actually how they actually thought about you was actually by them giving you pig feet, giving you pig intestines, giving you all the scraps and stuff like that. They just gave you just the crap. That's it. And a lot of times, that's exactly how we see ourselves. We refuse to hold any kind of standard when it comes to, when you're listening to these different ones that are out here that are preaching and teaching out of this book. But when you look at the fruit that they're putting out, it doesn't match, does it? But you still, hey, listen, we all mess up. Don't you want a better grade of food? You know what I'm saying? Don't you value yourself that much to want to get something healthy for a change, something that actually is good for a change? You don't have to settle for something rotten all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So here we had this politician, again, who's representing one of the most demonic governments in modern history, as far as I'm concerned. Still can't find this video. And he's up here telling you about, he's up here lining all this stuff up, talking about, we serve God and we serve this and that. And do you want God to come after you and, and destroy your campus? Do you want God to do that? Because this is what the Bible says. But I'm like, hey, God, what y'all been doing all these years, all these centuries from jump? And, I don't know the president of Colombia, I think she's Jewish. I'm not sure. If she's not Jewish, she on the she's on the strings. But, she chuckling like, okay, all right, whatever. Basically, we control all of this. What you talking about? Let me see if I can find, let me look one other place here. Let me look through my bookmarks. If I can't find it, I can't find it. Here it is. I did find it. There you go. I thought I bookmarked it. Okay. Now here's another one. Now this is the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And then we're going to jump right back to the other examples that we're going to give here. Okay. So let me pull this one up. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Let me pull this one up. Now take a listen to what he's saying. Same thing. This one's short clip.
Israel is a critical ally of ours, and I think most people understand the necessity of this funding. They're fighting for their very existence. They're the only stable democracy in the Middle East. I mean, of course, for those of us who are believers, it's a biblical admonition to stand with Israel. We will, and they will prevail as long as they're with them. And this is an important, very important symbolic gesture and a very important replenishment of their stockpiles, for example, of the Iron Dome. The reason they shot down all those drones and missiles in the last attack by Iran is because we assisted with that. I think the American people understand the importance of that. Israel is a critical ally of ours, and I think most people understand the necessity of this funding. They're fighting for their very existence. They're the only stable democracy in the Middle East. I mean, of course, for those of us who are believers, it's a biblical admonition to stand with Israel.
So once again, so again, here's you have another politician that's using the Bible to justify the support of Israel, which, again, I mean, it's so bad. I mean, you got people all over the world that are crying out saying how Israel ain't, ain't it. You know what I mean? And so, but you have these politicians that are using the Bible. Now, if you follow the script of the Bible, everything he said is right on. You would agree with that, right? But we don't really stop to really think about these things, do we? We just, hey, God, he's got people up in the, you just don't know. He's got people in the White House. He's got people in the Senate. He's got people in the Congressman, and we just go and roll with it and not and say, wait a minute. Now they're saying the same thing I'm saying, but I'm looking at their fruit and what they've been doing to us all these years. It ain't matching. So who they talking about? Who the hell they talking about? Anyway, I hope you get what I'm saying here. Anyway, what was the other thing I was going to show y'all? And then I'll show you this video here. I am not going to read this. Well, I'll see if I can blast through it real quick. This is something I'm deliberately showing you in Google Images because I want to show you just how easy it is to look this stuff up, y'all. It's easy. All right. So this is what's referred to as the 42 laws of Maat. All right. Or they'll say in this case, the divine principles of Maat or Maat. All right. Let me see if I'll make it even. I'll try to make it bigger for our people. OK, let me see if I can bring it up on the screen here. OK, to make it a little bit bigger for you. All right, so all I did was I went right to Google Images or Google, and then I just went to Images and I just pulled it up that way. All right, it's very easy, y'all. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go through this real quick and just so you can hear for yourself. These sound very familiar. Okay, so here we go. Again, this predates what we call the 10 Commandments. I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery with violence. I have not stolen. I have not slain men or women. I have not stolen food. I have not swindled offerings. I have not stolen from God or goddess. I have not been exclusively angry. I have not cursed God or goddess. Man, these things are really sounding familiar, aren't they? I have not behaved with violence. I have not caused disruption of peace. I have not acted hastily or without thought. I have not exaggerated my words when speaking. I have not stolen what it belongs to God or goddess. I have not overstepped my boundaries of concern. I have not cursed anyone in thought, word, or deed. I'm just going to skip now because, like I said, you can see there's quite a few of them. I have not closed my ears to truth. I have not terrorized anyone. I have not cursed. I have not made anyone cry. I have not worked evil. It's again, all of this right here, it predates what we call today the 10 Commandments. It predates it. And so there's a lot of evidence here that shows that what we call the 10 Commandments, it was actually pulling from this. Okay. And then when you start going deeper into the Moses narrative, you'll see that Moses wasn't this white bearded, man or maybe like the Hebrews, they like to have the guy with the puffy hair and the glowing red eyes and all that. He may not look like that either. It don't even matter. But he was actually there's a lot of basically scholars and all that are concluding that this character Moses was actually referring to an Egyptian. All right. That's another conversation that we can get into. A research team, we've actually delved into that quite a bit. Okay, so now the final thing I want to share with y'all is a clip from our Who in the L series. And this is actually a video that I found. And this person that did this video, they're going to go through some things that's kind of ties into what we were just chatting about here in our broadcast for today. And I really, again, I want to emphasize, I really appreciate each and every one of y'all who joined us today. And what was I going to say? If you've been wondering or, you're like, hey, listen, I would like to delve into this stuff a little bit further. We do have a research group, that you're more than welcome to join. And the way you do it, you just go to the front of our YouTube page and there's a join button right there. Make sure you listen to the video, follow the instructions that are in that video, and you'll have access to over close to 200 books, research notes, anything that I personally come across, I'll share it with you, but it ain't just a one-way street. Others they'll contribute and add things to that they are discovering on their own, and that's exactly what it should be. So anyway, so let me play this video. This will be the final thing we're going to have for y'all today. Let's take a listen, and yeah, let's go. All right. I want you to get the general idea of what's being talked about. Okay. All right. So let me pull this video up here. Let's see. Who that pretty guy? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, here we go, y'all. All right, we'll be right here.
The Canaanite people predate the arrival of Israelites by roughly 2 millennia. The Proto-Canaanites arose around 3500 BC as a Mesopotamian-based country and settled in sites such as Ebla, from which we derive the Ebla archive, and other places west of the Euphrates. Canaan is a region in the ancient Near East during the late 2nd millennium BC situated in the southern Levant. The setting comprises regions of Phoenicia, Philistia, and parts which would later be known as Israel. Canaan had significant geopolitical importance in the late Bronze Age Amarna period as the area where the spheres of interest of the Egyptian, Hittite, and Assyrian empires converged. Knowledge of Canaan from archaeological sources is almost exclusively from artifacts dated to the period in which the region existed under the hegemony of the New Kingdom of Egypt. Since the Egyptian Empire controlled this region during that time, much of our knowledge from archaeology comes from the Amarna letters and other documents of governance which record information from the time of Egyptian rule. Much of the primary source knowledge of Canaan stems from excavations in areas such as Tel Hazor, Tel Megiddo, and Gezer. The late Bronze Age state of Ugarit, what is now Ras Shamra in Syria, is considered a quintessential source of Canaanite culture and religion, from which was found the Ugaritic texts and other artifacts of Canaanite culture. The Israelite religion is one which originated out of these Bronze Age polytheistic ancient Semitic religious traditions, specifically the Canaanite religion. It exhibits a syncretization with elements from Babylonian religion as well as some Egyptian influences. The religion began as a henotheistic offshoot of the Canaanite worship of El, along with his secondary epithet, Yahweh, which refers to El Yahweh Sabaoth, often translated as Lord of Hosts, which likely means El who creates the armies. El, who was the supreme god of the Mesopotamian Semites, later became the chief god of the Hebrew Bible. In Canaan he was known to be the father and the ruler of the divines, as well as the creator. The god of the Jews evolved gradually from the Canaanite El, who was the high god of the pantheon, to the Israelite El, who is likewise the chief god of the Hebrews. The essential qualities of the Canaanite El were retained in the god of the Hebrews, along with memories of the theogony of El and the gods. Over time, the Israelite group of Canaanites converged the sky gods El and his son Baal-Hadad, and El was conflated as Yahweh. Early on, the Israelites also worshipped Yahweh along with his wife Asherah, who was originally the consort of El in the Canaanite tradition. For a long time, scholars of the Hebrew Bible concluded that a major difference between the God of the Bible and the gods of other traditions was that so-called pagan gods had sexual lives and consorts, while Yahweh did not. But in the late 20th century, archaeologists uncovered two intriguing inscriptions from two Middle Eastern sites. The inscriptions were blessings not only in the name of Yahweh, but also his consort Asherah. Over time, there was a push towards monolatry, the worship of one god among many, but not necessarily denying the existence of other gods, which made it so that the Israelites' focus on El Yahweh compelled them to make it appear that there was a greater divide between Yahweh and the older god, Baal. Thus, in order to build up and emphasize the distinction between Yahweh and Baal, the Hebrew text goes to great lengths to make Yahweh's conflict with Baal apparent. This marked the trend of Israel rejecting its heritage. Although the Israelites apparently broke off from Canaanite tradition at some point, the essential elements from the Canaanite sources were maintained in the Bible, such as the same dwellings and epithets of El. El resides on Mount Zaphon, and in certain texts he dwells within a tent, just like the tabernacle described in Exodus. Titles of the Canaanite El were preserved in the Hebrew tradition, such as the following: Elyon, which is Most High; Rechem, which is Bull. Also, El was called the god of patriarchs, a warrior, and El was called Olam, which means eternal. These were the names for the Canaanite El, and they became the names for the Hebrew El. Interestingly, Babel, relating to Babylon, is a conjunction of Bab and El, meaning gate of the god. But it was not singly El from which Yahweh evolved, but also Baal-Hadad, the Canaanite storm god. Indeed, also the name which Jews substitute for Yahweh, lest they utter it, is Adonai, the term from Canaanite Adon, which means Lord. It's a synonym for Baal, which also means Lord. The connection between Yahweh and Baal is undeniable. We find narrative instances of the Israelites' understanding of this connection in parts of the Hebrew text, such as Exodus 32:8, the crafting of the bull by Aaron and the Hebrews as Moses was on Sinai, in which it is said, "These are your gods, O Israel." We see in the Israelite religion precisely what one should expect to see from a religion evolving from and assimilating religions surrounding it. In numerous passages, Yahweh is depicted as any ancient Near East storm deity, the most notable of which is Baal-Hadad. Like Baal, Yahweh is a warrior who descends from his mountain home, riding on a chariot of clouds. His voice is thunder, and his weapon is lightning. The earth quakes, and the skies release rain at his command. In primeval times he asserted his authority by defeating the sea, becoming the ruler of the skies. Exodus 15:3 reads, Yahweh is a warrior, Yahweh is his name. Numbers 23:22, El, who brings them out of Egypt, is for them the horns of a wild bull. Numbers 24:8, El, who brings him out of Egypt, is like the horns of a wild bull for him. He shall devour the nations that are his foes and break their bones. El of the Canaanites was also called bull and warrior. Here are some examples of parallels between Baal and Yahweh as attested to by the Ugaritic literature in the Baal cycle and the Hebrew Bible. Let me tell you, Prince Baal. Let me repeat, rider on the clouds. Now your enemy, Baal, now you will kill your enemy. Now you will annihilate your foe. You will take your eternal kingship, your dominion, forever and ever. And the Hebrew Bible reads, Behold your enemies, Yahweh. Behold your enemies perish. All evildoers are scattered. Your kingship is an eternal kingship. Your dominion is forever and ever. The parallels with Baal extend also to the motif of the mountain where Yahweh revealed himself. There was thunder and lightning and a heavy cloud on the mountain, and Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because Yahweh had descended upon it in fire, and the whole mountain trembled violently. The same imagery is used of Baal's theophany. Then Baal opened a break in the clouds. Baal sounded his holy voice. Baal thundered from his lips. The earth's high places shook. The association of Yahweh as a storm god is also echoed in Judges chapter 5, verses 4 through 5. Yahweh, when you went out from Seir, when you marched from the highland of Edom, the earth shook, and the heavens too streamed, and the clouds streamed with water. The mountains shook, before Yahweh the one of Sinai, before Yahweh the God of Israel. And Psalm 104, verse 3, Yahweh sets the beams of his chambers on the waters. He makes the clouds his chariot. He rides on the wings of the wind. There is also a shared emphasis on the seventh day. For it was on the seventh day of Daniel's incubation rite in the temple that Baal intercedes for him and El blesses him, just as it is on the seventh day that Yahweh called to Moses on the cloud-covered mountain. Indeed, the characteristic origin of Yahweh in the roots of El and Baal is preserved in Hosea 2:16, which reads, Yahweh says, You will call me my husband, and no longer my Baal. Frank M. Cross suggested in 1973 a potential connection with the Egyptian deity Ptah, who was given the title Dugiti, Lord of Gath. in which Ptah is called Lord Eternal, and that it may be this identification of El with Ptah that led to the epithet Olam, which means eternal, so early and so consistently with the Israelites. Another similarity is that both the gods Ptah and El create the world through their very will, and not through a divine battle between gods. The Jews also seem to be oddly concerned with circumcision, which serves as another connection to Egyptian culture. The earliest historical record of circumcision comes from Egypt in an inscription of the tomb at Saqqara dating to around 2400 BC. While circumcision might have been done for hygienic reasons, it was for the Egyptians part of their obsession with purity and was associated with spiritual and intellectual development. These connections would all make sense considering the Levant was politically and culturally dominated by the Egyptian Empire in the time the Israelites are thought to have arisen by the end of the Late Bronze period. However, it is probably not until Iron Age I that a population began to identify itself as Israelite, and the earliest documented instance of the name Israel is from the Egyptian stele of Merneptah, around 1208 BC, in which it records that Israel is laid waste, and his seed is not. The earliest possible occurrence of the name Yahweh is as a place name in the Egyptian inscription from the time of Amenhotep III, who reigned from 1402 to 1363 BC. It refers to the land of Yahu, which is the land of the Shashu, being nomads from Midian. Thus the worship of Yahweh seems to have originated in areas south of Israel. The name Yahweh, which can take on various forms in the Semitic tongue of Yah for theophoric purposes, for example, Adonijah, which is Adon, master, and Yahu, referring to Yah or Yahweh, contains the core name Yah. Along with being the chief and ruler god, Yahweh shares unequivocal resemblances to the Sumerian god Yah, who is culturally synonymous with Marduk and Baal-Hadad. Yah and Yah, or Yahweh, are virtually the same god. The Torah draws heavily from other ancient Near East influences which pre-existed it, incorporating and modifying them. Things such as the laws of Eshnunna, Hammurabi, Middle Assyrian laws, and Ur-Nammu. The covenant theme, which runs throughout, is known to be directly related to the Hittite suzerainty contracts and the vassal treaties of Esarhaddon. One example of the covenant theme from outside the Hebrew Bible lies in the Phoenician-inscribed Arslan Tash amulets, which refer to the Eternal One's covenant, a council of holy ones, and the sons of El. Interestingly, there's also a 5th century AD Christian amulet from Cyprus which associates Re and Osiris with Yahweh and Jesus in imagery on one side and a palindrome text on the other, stating Yahweh is the bearer of the secret name, the Lion of Re secure in his shrine. This is interesting because the throne of El is depicted with features of a lion, and the earliest possible instance of El in an artifact depicting him with 2 lions. The Israelite accounts of creation contain clear allusions to ancient Near Eastern cosmogonies. The first verses draw upon the Babylonian epic Enuma Elish, which means when on high. Both begin with a temporal clause, the book of Genesis beginning with when El created the sky and earth, in which also nothing existed but primeval waters, male and female, fresh and salt, Apsu and Tiamat respectively. The god Marduk manages to create the world by destroying Tiamat with wind, ripping her asunder and forming the sky and the earth from her carcass. Genesis applies the same styles and motifs of its ancient Near Eastern setting, only demythologized, that lacks any theogony of the gods which the texts discuss. The memory of the battle narrative, though, is preserved in other parts of the Tanakh. There are still significant differences, however, between typical ancient Near East religious traditions and the Hebrew Bible, the most remarkable feature being the suppression of mythology in the Hebrew tradition. There is no biography or theogony of Yahweh. While the Bible is not mythology, it does indeed contain myths and legends. The polemical inversion of the Hebrew narrative, as opposed to other myths, is apparent in the emphasis on human importance and dignity created in divine image, which is lacking in the narratives of their ancient Near East neighbors, where humans tend to be menials. Human affairs are the theme of importance in the biblical account, and thus the absence of mythologized stories of gods is substituted with mythologized stories of humans. In that sense, the often suggested question, is the Bible trustworthy in depicting historical events, is a wrong question, to which the answer would be no. A better question would be, is the Bible trustworthy in depicting historical opinions, and the answer to that is an obvious yes. The text of the Torah is constituted of at least 5 sources as described in Wellhausen's theory. J. Yahwist, written around 950 BC in Judah. E. Elohist, written around 850 BC in Israel. D. Deuteronomist, written around 600 BC in Jerusalem. P. Priestly, written around 535 in exile of Babylon. And R. Redactor, which is the final edition of the combined sources. Although Wellhausen's dates have been disputed, and any of the sources could be decades, if not centuries later. In fact, the Hebrew Bible itself explicitly admits this sort of phenomena when it cites prior sources at many times. For example, the Book of Jasher, the Book of the Wars of Yahweh, and the Book of Iddo the Seer. This is not necessarily a modern idea either of Wellhausen's, considering the fact that similar analysis was concluded by scholars such as Baruch Spinoza, Thomas Hobbes, and John Estruc in the 1600s. In J-text, Yahweh is the most anthropomorphic, forming man from clay with his hands, enjoying walks in the cool of evening, stitching clothes for Adam and Eve from animal pelts, enjoying the food Abram cooks for him, speaking face to face with humans, being bargained with, and so forth. J is particularly interested in the traditions of Judah, and it supports Judah against Israel. For example, suggesting that Israel acquired its capital at Shechem by massacring the inhabitants. And J supports the priests who descend from Aaron, who were established in Jerusalem, the capital of Judah. While Wellhausen placed the date for J-text at around 950 BC, a crucial study by H. Schmid demonstrated that J was conscious of the prophetic works of the 7th century BC, while the prophets did not know of the traditions of the Torah, meaning that J cannot be earlier than the 7th century BC. Many current theories place J even later, such as that of Russell E. Gmirkin. E-text is characterized by its virtually exclusive use of the plural term Elohim for the deity, along with its use of the phrase fear of God. It holds a rather abstract view of the deity, and strangely uses Horeb instead of Sinai for the mountain where Moses received the laws. E-text, favoring Israel, represents traditions from the northern kingdom of Israel, and exhibits a fascination with its heroes such as Joseph and Joshua, speaking negatively of Aaron, for example, claiming that he led the Israelites to worship the golden calf. Before the redactor edited it, E-text told the story of Abraham and Isaac, in which Abraham is not stopped, and Isaac never appears again, suggesting rather that Isaac was sacrificed. And the early tradition, recorded in the Midrash, still preserves the version of the tale in which Isaac was killed. While the J-text depicts the anthropomorphic God that is involved with humans on earth, the Elohist source frequently involves angels, for example, telling of a ladder of angels that leads up to El, whereas in J, this is simply a dream in which God is above the location. E-text also goes to excessive lengths to depict the Egyptians negatively, and it depicts Moses as threatening Pharaoh and bringing the plagues himself. The priestly source, P-text, is unique among the other sources, and is characterized by significant contradictions with them. In P-text, Aaron and the priesthood have an exalted status, and there is no sacrifice ordained by God at Sinai. Ritual laws and origins of shrines are stressed, as is the role of priests. Unique to P is the assertion that only descendants of Aaron were allowed to officiate in the inner sanctum. P's God is majestic and transcendent, and according to P, all things occur because of his power. Also unique to P is that the deity reveals himself in stages, first as Elohim, then as El Shaddai to Abram, and then as Yahweh only to Moses and those following him. In Exodus 6:3, Yahweh reveals his name to Moses, saying that no one had yet known this name, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob only knew him as El Shaddai. But according to J-text in Genesis 15, Abraham clearly knows the name of Yahweh, and Yahweh himself says, "I am Yahweh." P is significantly concerned with holiness, meaning ritual purity, and Israel is posited as a priestly kingdom and holy nation, with elaborate rules that are aimed at preserving this purity. Most scholars agree that P source was written either during or after the exilic period around 530 BC. The Deuteronomist source, although found mostly in Deuteronomy through 2 Kings, underlies much of the Hebrew Bible. The Deuteronomistic history originated independently of the books Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, and the history found in the Book of the Chronicles. Scholars trace all or most of it to the 6th century BC. It tells of a story in which a book of the law was supposedly found during the reign of King Josiah, and which caused the king to embark on a series of religious changes. And it has been suggested that this source was manufactured in order to validate his program of religious change. Deuteronomist theology is conceived in the form of the suzerainty or covenant between Israel and Yahweh, who elected them and requires them to live according to his law. Under this treaty, Yahweh has granted a conditional promise to the Israelites of the land of Canaan. The interpretation asserted in D-text explains Israel's successes as the result of obedience and its failures as the result of disobedience. Contrary to the other three texts, in which independent shrines or priesthoods are represented as legitimate, D-text insists on a centralized worship around the temple in Jerusalem. Lastly, D-text asserts all Israelites as brothers and sisters, and each will answer to God for his treatment of his neighbor. These four texts were combined at 2 points in time by editors or redactors, who appear to have kept as much as possible from the source documents. Firstly, by combining J and E to form JE. The redactor of JE is thought to have added very little, only a few phrases in the attempt to remove serious contradictions and maintain the flow of the story between the texts. The main exception to this is in the story of Abraham sacrificing Isaac, where the redactor added an angel stopping Abraham and replacing the boy with a ram. During the Babylonian exile, JE was unified with P and E by a different redactor, which many theorize to be Ezra during the time of Cyrus the Great. And that, as we have it, is the combined sources of the Hebrew Bible.
Well, there you go. Like I said. All right. I know that was quite a bit. I don't know where I got 10 minutes from, but but that's where, that video had a lot in it. And I would encourage you to go and take your time and go through it. Okay. Take your time. I know for numbers of our people, talking about the Bible this way is not something that is typically done. We're used to listening to someone who just simply is going to repeat scriptures over and over again and then give their interpretation of it. So what we do here is, no, we're not going to just look at the scriptures. We're going to go and look at the historicity behind the scriptures, and we're going to understand how they put this thing together. Okay, we are graduating from this just being the night watchmen or the guard dogs of the Bible, and we're moving into a place where we're going to say, you know what? I've been standing on this post far too long, guarding this thing and not taking it, but I've never opened up to see what the heck it is that I'm supposed to be protecting and defending. And that is what we're doing here. So I get for some of our people, you know, like just with all that he was going through, the J, the D, oh Lord, you know, and you know, and you may be getting a little tired on there, but I know it's a stretch, but this is what if you really want to understand what you are following and embracing, the information comes like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so I thought whoever did that video, I thought they did a wonderful job in putting that together, because it explains a great deal. And like I said, if you do take the time and watch it, you'll get it, you know. And family, listen, this is the trajectory that we're going to stay on. We have people unsubscribing. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But we're about the truth. If you want to stay in playing around and wanting to pretend that you're this, that, or whatever, then you can do that. That's your choice. That is 100% your choice. But if you are really about the truth and you want to know the truth of what you claim that you're standing on, it's going to require something of you. It's going to require you to investigate, just like we're doing here. And like I always say, we don't have all the answers here, and we never pretend that we do. But what we can do is ask questions, and the results that we come back, if those things check out and they're absolutely true, we're going to put it out there. What you decide to do at that point, it's up to you, you know. But that's the trajectory that we're going to stay on. That's the course, and that's the journey that we're going to continue to stay on here. And that's it. So I really, really hope, you know, what was shared here, you do take it seriously. I hope you take the time, investigate it your own self, and you go where the truth takes you. It's very simple. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. You guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Take care.